The wind shrieked through the pines, slamming snow against the cabin like fists of ice. Inside, Jack Monroe sat hunched near a dying fire, the orange glow carving hollows beneath his eyes. His whiskey had frozen in the bottle, but not before it burned away the last of his courage. He told himself he liked the silence until the knock came. 3 soft raps. Hesitant yet certain. He opened the door, and the storm roared in with a woman standing at its heart. She was wrapped in furs, face streaked with melted snow, eyes dark as obsidian and twice as sharp. Apache. She didn't shiver. Didn't ask. Just stared until Jack felt the heat rise in his chest. "You owe a debt," she said, voice low but steady. "And tonight you'll pay it." The fire cracked. Jack's hand brushed the revolver at his hip. Her gaze flicked toward it, then back to him unafraid. Snow swirled between them, ghosts of past winters whispering in the dark. He could have slammed the door, but something in her voice, grief, defiance, maybe both, held him still. When she stepped inside, the wind died, and the cabin seemed to shrink around them. He knew the past had finally found him. The fire sputtered, throwing shadows across the cabin walls. Jack poured 2 cups of coffee, his hand unsteady, the tin mug rattling against the table. The woman, Ayanna, sat close to the flames, steam curling around her face. Her silence pressed heavier than the storm outside. He tried to speak, but she cut through the air like a knife. "You killed my brother." The words rooted him to the floor. His breath caught, the world narrowing to the crackle of burning wood. Memory flashed. Gunfire, smoke, a blur of riders by the San Pedro River. He'd pulled the trigger once, maybe twice, not knowing who he hit. He'd buried that night in whiskey and dust, but she had dug it back up. "You've got the wrong man," he managed, though his voice betrayed him. Her eyes didn't blink. "I remember your horse. Your coat. The badge you wore." Silence stretched, thick as frost. Jack's hand drifted near his gun, but her calm unsettled him more than rage ever could. She wasn't here for revenge, at least not the quick kind. Ayanna leaned forward, voice low. "At dawn you'll ride with me." Jack frowned. "Where to?" Her stare burned steady. "To finish what your bullet began." Dawn crept pale and brittle across the snow, turning the world into a sheet of glass. Jack saddled his horse in silence while Ayanna watched, her breath rising in soft clouds. They rode out without a word, the storm's aftermath crunching beneath their hooves. The land felt hollow, trees bowed under ice, rivers frozen in mid-motion. Every gust of wind seemed to whisper names he'd tried to forget. Ayanna led the way with quiet certainty, her gaze fixed on some invisible path only she could see. Jack followed, the weight of her accusation pressing heavier than his rifle. The rhythm of the horses lulled him into memory. The flash of musket fire, a boy's cry swallowed by chaos. After hours, she drew rein at a ridge overlooking a frozen river. Below, snow mounded around a single patch of earth marked by feathers and stones. "There," she said softly. "That's where he fell." Jack dismounted, knees weak. He removed his hat, staring at the small memorial. No priest, no cross, just devotion carved by grief. "He was 16, she murmured almost to herself. "My brother." The air seemed to still. Jack's voice cracked through it. "Why bring me here?" "To remember," she said. "Before we finish." Jack stared at the mound, snow stinging his face like penance. Ayanna handed him a shovel, her expression unreadable. "Dig," she said. He hesitated, then sank the blade into the frozen ground. Each thrust cracked through the silence, each breath turning to smoke. When the shovel struck wood, his pulse faltered. Together they cleared the snow, revealing a small box bound in rawhide. Ayanna knelt, brushing frost from the lid. Inside lay a tarnished medallion, half buried in dried earth. She turned it over. The name Jack Monroe glinted in the weak light. "You wore this," she said, voice steady but low. "I took it from the boy's hand." Jack's chest tightened. Then why bring me here? To bury me with it. Her eyes softened. To make you see. You didn't shoot him to kill. You tried to save another. I saw it from the rocks. The air seemed to shift, the snow suddenly gentler. For a long moment neither spoke. Then she reached into her coat and placed a weathered pouch in his palm. Inside, his brother's dog tag gleamed faintly. Ayana's words cut deeper than any bullet. He died protecting me. Now I ask you, will you help me protect what's left? Night fell calm, the storm spent and silent. Ayana sat near the fire, humming a low, mournful tune that drifted like smoke through the cabin. Jack watched her, the flicker of the flames catching in her dark eyes. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of his gun belt as something shameful, not protective. Without a word, he unbuckled it and tossed the revolver into the fire. The metal hissed, then quieted. No more killing, he said almost to himself. Ayana nodded, the faintest trace of relief softening her features. Then maybe the dead can finally rest. Outside, the first stars appeared, scattered across the indigo sky like embers carried by wind. Jack thought of his brother, of her brother, of the endless land that had swallowed them both. He rose, voice roughened by resolve. If you'll have me, I'll ride with you. Help rebuild what we broke. Her gaze met his, steady, unyielding. We start with the living. When dawn came, the snow shone red beneath the rising sun. Two riders set off across the plains, their shadows long and parallel, carrying not vengeance, but the fragile beginning of peace. The west at last exhaled.